So thank you. Thank you for the welcome. I'd like to just start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land, the Larrakia people, and paying my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. So my name's Veeraja. I'm with the Remote Vocational Training Scheme, and I'll be talking to you about our targeted recruitment strategy that we've been working on. And this is actually a co-presentation with Dr. Pat Giddings, who's the CEO and Director of Training down there. So I don't know if I drew the short straw or drew the long straw, but I'm the one who's up on stage, and he's the one who's sitting down there. Yeah. So that's the aim of our talk. And some of you may know a little bit about RVTS. It's existed for 16 years, and it's been quite a successful workforce retention program that uses general practice training as its mode of operation. But what we've done is created a slightly new twist to our existing program. And we've existed previously as a retention program, and now we're looking at, can we actually stimulate and recruit doctors into communities with high medical workforce need with our training program. So RVTS at a glimpse, as I said, we've been going for 18 years. We've trained about just over 300 doctors, and we've existed in close to 250 communities right across Australia. The points that I probably want to make is that our 94%, our GP fellowship rate, pass rate is 94%, and that includes registrars training to the ACRM pathway, those training to the RACGP pathway, and some registrars actually would do both. And the other point I wanted to make was the 96% here, satisfaction. So our registrars are generally very satisfied. That's an annual survey that we do. And our breakup is about 1/3 Australian trained and 2/3 overseas trained. That's their initial medical training. And so this just gives you a pretty good look of where we're distributed. And the spread really reflects the distribution of our rural and remote population across the country. Largely it's concentrated on the eastern states, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, but we are active in all states and territories. We've even got, you can see, we've had a registrar in Norfolk Island. We've also had a registrar up in PNG. And about the training program itself, it's very comprehensive. So it's a 3-year program that we put all our registrars through. The first thing is for our knowledge base. The knowledge base of the program is delivered by webinars. So over the 3 years, there's 90 webinars, and that's delivering the curriculum suitable for both the ACRM pathway and the FRACGP pathway. The skills base comes through 30 days of face-to-face workshops, clinical skills. That's 10 days a year. We bring them either, it's usually to a big city, run them through their paces. At least 5 on-site clinical teaching visits where we get an experienced GP to come into the clinic with them. Every registrar gets a dedicated supervisor. Most of our supervision is done by remote supervision. However, some of our registrars who exist in some of the larger Aboriginal medical services may have on-site supervision also. And we also have developed quite comprehensive examination support. And this all leads to this, the fellowship of both the colleges, and we like to harp on about our success. It's quite good. So it has been, I suppose, quite effective in terms of getting doctors through to fellowship. But what we were actually set up to do was to retain the workforce into remote communities. So this just gives you some simple statistics. 90% of our doctors who are in training are working in the one community for the duration of that training. And that duration is about 3 to 4 years. So the community gets that doctor for 3 to 4 years. With even 2 years post-training, 39% are still there. So that means the community is getting that doctor for 5 or 6 years. But 84% are still retained in a remote community, a rural community, or an Aboriginal medical service. So we've kind of indoctrinated them to this mode of practice, and we're showing that we're keeping them in that mode. And there's a very nice little quote there from one of our registrars in our satisfaction survey, just reiterating how much they appreciated this type of training, being able to work and train where they live. So what we can say is that RVTS has been an effective workforce retention program using education and training as its modus operandi. But as we know and has been discussed, we still have quite a significant medical workforce maldistribution. You know, the per capitas of doctor in our remote areas is only 60% of what it is in urban areas. The projections are not so different. The premature mortality rates are much higher in our remote areas. Our medical students, the ones we're training in this country, are gravitating more into urban areas. So 82% are saying that they will seek future employment only in urban areas. And it's also very unlikely that experienced GPs who, once they've worked in urban areas, will migrate out. And that's when compared to engineers or teachers. Because I know that because I read your paper. So there's plenty of work to be done, and it really just highlights the fact that there's more work to be done here, and we do need other mechanisms, really, to drive our doctors into the rural and remote communities where they're really needed. So our hypothesis was, when we started this pilot, was, you know, could the RVTS training program be packaged as part of the recruitment package to attract doctors into rural or remote communities? And would that work? So this was our methodology. And really, broadly, we've been advised by the rural workforce agencies and by the state government departments of health to nominate communities that have a high medical workforce need. And we're really basing that on the rurality. So we're looking really in Monash 6 and 7 areas. And we're also trying to get a broad national distribution. Applicants coming to RVTS through targeted recruitment, they need to just meet our minimum standards for entry. And so we have, with all our registrars coming in, a semi-structured interview, and they also do a standardised online situational judgment test. So the results, and we've done this over 2 years. Okay. We've had slightly different approaches. For 2018, we just started this at the start of 2018, really. We allocated 2 targeted recruitment positions out of our 32 positions that we have every year. And this is a pretty good story. And it really draws back to, I suppose, the importance of events like this, that we have this conference. So it all really started, it's like once upon a time, but once upon a time when we were at RMA 16. And we had a stall, and then a gentleman by the name of Robin Bryant, who's just sitting down at the table, has been very active in the Malakuta community. And Robin's been working with the community to try and attract a doctor, a second doctor to the town, to help Sarah, who's sitting next to him. And so they approached us saying, well, can you help us? Can we drive some recruitment? And so this got us thinking, well, RVTS has been quite good at retaining doctors. We can work with communities. Once you've got a doctor in your town, you know, they can apply to us and we can keep them there for another 3 or 4 years. But what happens to a town that doesn't have a doctor or wants another doctor but can't get that doctor? And so it's got us thinking about an alternative approach. And this is what this has really been about. So it took us a little while. But then when we started, we said, okay, 2018, Pat said, we're going to do this. And so obviously our go-to place was, well, Malakuta's making overtures to us. That's going to be our go-to place. So we put it as part of the recruitment package, that if they can find a doctor who meets our minimum standards for entry, they're in. And Robin, how long did it take? Yeah. But yeah, it's 2 years of very hard work, and it really shows that communities like this who are really active and agitating, agitating, but also working up a package. But once we started this at the start of the year, Mubasha came to Malakuta in May. He started at the practice, and he started training with RVTS in August. And and then while this process was happening, we were also approached by Dilip Dupalia. So Dilip's just here. So Dilip was also working with his community. He's restructured the Cunnamulla Clinic, which he was just talking about in the previous room, about with the hospital service and the AMS. And they're looking to support their workforce, because one of the problems was that they're paying a lot for locum services. They've got one doctor, they wanted a second doctor. And so again, it was like the perfect pilot for us to work with the community. And after we said, okay, this will be our second position that we'll pilot with, and within a month or two, we had an applicant. The applicant met both of our standards, and they've started. So Joshua Daly commenced at Cunnamulla in August, and at the same month, he started training with RVTS. So for both communities, we've got a second full-time GP in both towns. We've increased the medical service viability in both towns, financially and their workforce. And we've been able to adjust our program to bring them straight into a mid-year intake. So they've started their training straight away. For 2019, we've started our planning. That was our proof of concept. So we said, we've got 2 communities, we know this can work. The recruitment was quite quick. We've taken a more structured approach here. And this is where we've gone out to the rural workforce agencies, we've gone out to the state department, health departments, and we've said, please nominate some communities that have high need, high medical workforce need, that you feel would work with an RVTS registrar. And so they've nominated, in the end, we're working with 13 communities. We've allocated 6 training spots. Now you might say, okay, why did we do that? Well, not everything works as smoothly as it has done in Cunnamulla and Malakuta, always. There can be quite a lag time. These are sort of, some of these positions are very long-term, difficult positions to fill. So we want to ensure that all our 6 positions are filled. All of these positions, or 90% of them are Triple M 6 and 7, and 4 of them are AMS posts. And we're currently doing our assessments with those registrars. So that just gives you an idea of where they all are. They're spread into quite remote locations. These are difficult to fill spots, most of them. And we hope to have, with these training spots for 2019, we're very confident that we'll have all 6 positions filled. Some of them that will have trainees starting, registrars starting at the end of January 2019, and others may fill progressively through the year as we fill the positions. So I suppose the lessons that we've learnt from this is that we've had some early successes, and it has been effective, and it's really motivating us to continue. Initially, we gave the communities that we were working with 4 months, effectively 4 months to recruit a doctor. And I think for some of them, they've struggled a little bit with that timeline and this concept. So we really need to extend that time out to maybe 6 to 8 months. RVTS is a little bit unusual from normal GP training. The entry point is probably a little higher from where doctors enter for AGPT. And of our existing registrars, the average age of a registrar with RVTS is 41. Their experience is equivalent to PGY 11. So they're more experienced, they're usually more mature. And so this program is generally better suited to those mature, experienced candidates. Generally, not always. So we're looking for generally that type of person. But what we have been able to do is shift and make our program more flexible so that once a community can identify a doctor, once they get someone on ground, we can bring them into our training program very quickly. So we don't want them waiting around. And we've been able to integrate our processes. for selection with our existing retention program. And so finally, for our future directions, we're really keen to roll this out further in 2020 and expand and work with more communities. Really the key for this is our partnerships. This doesn't work without a close collaboration with the workforce agencies, with the state government, departments of health to nominate the positions, and really with motivated communities who can support the registrars. And Malakuta has been a fantastic example and a fantastic community to work with for RVTS. There are certain things that we can do, but the community has been so active at supporting the doctor and supporting the family to come into the town. And it's the same with Cunnamulla too. So there's also really, this program can be really driven by the community and led by the community to develop really innovative training positions, the type of doctor that the community needs. And I think it dovetails quite well into the rural generalist program and the creation of, innovative posts. So we're hoping to continue to evaluate and publish. Just put up a very nice quote from Susan Wern. And I think it just reiterates really what Paul Worley was saying earlier this morning about using rural and remote areas as a really key area for our training of our doctors into the future. So essentially what we think we're showing here is that high quality education and training can be a key driver for medical recruitment to rural and remote communities with high medical workforce need. So that's, and Pat, who's my co-presenter, who's happy to take any questions you may have. Well, we have a formal process with the supervisor that they sign with RVTS. But Pat, do you want to?
Well, look, I suppose it's a matter of thinking about what the supervision role really is. I mean, this is it's not really a clinical supervisor as such. I mean, we can't realistically provide, we fund a supervisor to have contact with a registrar for an hour a week. So we can't really provide that sort of full-time clinical support. So an RVTS supervisor is much more about hooking people up with the right networks and helping the registrar work out their own support mechanisms. And some of that will be locally, of course, because they've got to work in with their colleagues. And in the Malakuta situation, there'll be local issues, quality and safety issues that need to be sorted out on a local basis. But it's the supervisor's role to ensure that the registrar's aware of what all the local supports are, and but not to be available 24 hours a day to provide that support.
I'd like to speak to that as well.
Yeah.
Being in that situation, and there was, I guess, a deliberate decision made for me not to be the registrar's supervisor. Yeah, because, and it works really well because it takes a bit of pressure off me because I'm, doing, I guess, a lot of the day-to-day management of that. And so it means that if I'm saying, okay, no, actually, you might need to think about doing things this way, that I'm just one person suggesting that, and if that's coming from, I guess, the supervisor, and it also means if I'm away, I guess you can contact the supervisor as well. But actually, I think it works really well.
We generally, when we're bringing a doctor in, we generally like to bring, not to supervise, remote supervision works quite well if there's already an experienced doctor there who's there, like Sarah is for some supports, but their educational supervision and mentoring is external. And then they get the best of both.